So I'm rereading Hunger Games. This is the second time I've read it. I mean, I read it like when they first came out, and now I'm rereading them. And I want to reread them all, watch all the movies, and then read the new book, and then watch that movie. And the new movie came out like 2 weeks. I should have done that 2 weeks ago. I should have done this like way earlier. But I'm reading this, and I just got to the scene with Rue where she, I don't even want to say it, but not me like crying because the bread that District 11 gives Katniss after Rue, oh, that was like so sweet and sad. And oh, I'm almost done. This book is big, like I didn't realize, but I'm almost done, and maybe I can finish it today. I don't know, we'll see, but I'm hoping to finish it obviously soon because I don't want to miss the new Hunger Games movie in theaters. It is Friday, and last night I finished the first Hunger Games book. Okay, and I remember reading them when they first came out, and I actually didn't like them that much. But reading it the second time around, it's actually a really good book. I was honestly quite surprised. So I finished reading that. I was like falling asleep, so I had to reread the last page because I'm like, wait, did I finish last night? I'm not quite sure. But I want to watch the movie now, which is what I'm going to do. It's on HBO. It's on Hulu, I guess, with like the Stars plug-in. I don't know. But it was there to watch. I didn't really want to buy it, obviously. So it was there to watch. And so that's what I'm doing right now before work. I really want to start catching fire. But you know, this book is like so interesting because it's so fucked up. First of all, you know, things happen. This boy's getting like eaten alive. And it's just like, is this really what I'm reading? You know, like I had to kind of stop and be like, wait, this is what's happening at the end of the book. And like, wow. I mean, not that I don't want to spoil things. It's like, this book has been out forever. And if you haven't seen it or watched the movie or read it, it's like, come on. But like at the end of the book, you know, it's just Katniss and Peeta, and Cato's there, and like literally he's getting eaten alive for an hour, and they just have to, over an hour, and they just have to like hear him. I'm like, that is so traumatizing. I don't even know. And these people are 16. These kids are 16. And I do remember reading the first time the book and being like, wow, this is really violent for a young adult book. And I was like, wow, these are kids. This is crazy. But it's so funny also because I know, like, in the end, she ends up with Peeta. Like, I know in the third book, she ends up with Peeta. I've read the books. I've watched the movie. I know that. And I think it's funny because I feel like, in a way, you know, there's this, like, love triangle that kind of, like, comes up. But it's weird because it's like, she made it very clear in the beginning that she was not interested in Gale like that. But then by the end of the book, she's like, oh, I have to face Gale. But I think she feels like uncomfortable because of all the stuff that was on camera with Peeta and how they're playing up the like, oh, love thing with them too. And it's like, but you don't like Gale like that. So what does it matter? So it's kind of like, but also it's interesting because she's so young that it's like, how can she even fathom this idea of like, let's pretend to be in love, and like, I don't know, you know, she has this really good friendship with Gale, and I just think that dynamic's interesting. Like, we don't get a lot of Gale at all, but she has this interesting friendship with him, like best friend. I think they're like best friends, you know, and that is a very intimate relationship. And then there's Peeta, the boy with the bread, who I think is very sweet, but also very smart. And I'm interested, I act like I have never read this before, which I have, but you couldn't tell me, I couldn't tell you anything that happened in the second or third book. So it's almost like a new world. But that's the thing, I want to watch the movie. And I think the first movie, from what I remember, does a pretty good job at adapting the book. So we'll see. But I'm going to eat my lemon cake. I'm going to watch The Hunger Games and relax a bit. Even though I have a lot of other things to do, I want to relax today before work, of course. That video they're showing, the most insane propaganda. Like, What the? That's so wild. I didn't realize that they show that like video of like, I mean, they do talk about like what happens, but it's like when you really think about this, to instill fear into all the districts, we are going to have your children enter into this ring and fight to the death. You're sending your children to slaughter. Like, what? Oh my God. What? And we're on 74 years. How do the parents of the kids that don't make it back, how do they cope with that? That's what I need. I need a movie about the parents who sent their kids into the reaping, which, I mean, it's by law and decree, and we know that's how governments and political parties or whatever put things into place. They write it into law. What do the parents, maybe they'll talk about that, I don't know. But it's like, what do the parents do? Also, like, Effie Trinket. Like, how do you live with yourself? Like, I don't understand. You come into this, like, District 12, which they're, like, coal miners, and she's this, like, bright, like, happy Hunger Games, and you're like, what? Oh, man. We love Elizabeth Banks, though. Also, Katniss, this is horrible, but she's, like, the perfect person to go into a Hunger Games. Like, she's the perfect person to win a Hunger Games, too, because she, you know, comes from just, like, this small family who they lost their father, and, like, she has her young sister, but she's, like, smart and cunning and very knowledgeable about nature and hunting, and so she could survive. Obviously, she does, you know, but it's just, like, where there's sometimes where you didn't think she would, and then you think about Haymitch. Okay, I haven't met Haymitch yet on the film, but you think about Haymitch, and it's like, of course he's so traumatized. Clearly, it's like he went to war. Basically, he survived a war, and now he has horrible PTSD, and now he's just a drunk. And now he has to train other people, other kids, to go through what he went through. How fucked up is that? Oh my God. Jesus Christ. I don't think as like a child, a 16-year-old, if you're reading this, like, I don't necessarily know if you would think how horrible it is, but like reading this as a 35-year-old, I'm like, I mean, I knew it was horrible then when I read it. I was not 16 when I read it. I was, I think, early 20s when it came out, maybe. But like reading this now, and even especially watching the movie, because it's just adding on to what I've read. Wow. I hope we get a lot of Haymitch in the film, because we like we get him in the book, but like I want to see like more of him, because his character's very interesting to me now that I think more about it. Of course he's a drunk, because how is he going to cope with what he did or saw in the Hunger Games? Of course he's a drunk. How do you think people are going to survive after that? And clearly there's no therapy or help. All they get to do is live in this house, and he's the only person that lives in this village because he's the only winner from District 12. I don't know why I'm so like shooketh about this, but like interesting. This is wild. How much bad luck do you have to put your name in for the first time and get called? Like against, and there's thousands of names. That's so sad for Prim. Dale has his name in there 42 times. And Prim has her name in there once. She would not survive the Hunger Games. I'm sorry.
I volunteer as tribute.
Yes, Jennifer Lawrence. Say I volunteer as tribute. She's like, I wonder how many takes she did for that. For the I volunteer as tribute thing. I really wonder how many takes she did. It's horrific, but Katniss would definitely survive over Prim. Prim would be done. I'm sorry. Did not ever face against someone like Cato. I'm sorry. He would take her out in a fucking second. Jesus Christ. This is so fucked up. It's so interesting too. They don't show that Peeta's dad comes to visit Katniss before she goes off to the Hunger Games. Because I think that scene's really important too, because it shows the connection that her family and his family do kind of have, because he says, I'll make sure your sister is fed. I'll make sure that she is fed, which is a huge deal because Katniss was worried about Prim the whole time. So she has I feel like that's kind of like she can almost like focus too on the Hunger Games now because she knows that someone's going to take care of her family, her sister and her family. And I think that's a big deal. Like, they should have shown that. But I think that what they're doing in the movie is they're showing how separated Peeta and Katniss are. I remember reading this scene in the book where they come in and they have the fire and like, I felt so like, this is almost their first like kind of act of rebellion because they're lighting themselves on fire, doing something different than that district has done every year, setting themselves apart, and like, I don't know, I'm just like, yes, District 12, yes, but it's like, no, this is a parade of these kids that are about to go to slaughter. Like, it's just, I feel so conflicted because Senna, Lenny, he did the damn thing with that costume, but it's like, this is still so fucked up. This is a wild movie. So the ending is like not completely changed, but what they don't show, and I think is really important, is they don't show the reunion between Katniss and Peeta after they're done with the whole Hunger Games thing, because I think that's a pretty important moment to win the Hunger Games. You're clearly gonna have PTSD, and then to be ripped apart from the person that you just basically survived with for a couple of days. They keep them apart, and then they want to televise their first meeting after the games, and they don't show that. They don't show their first meeting after the games in the book. Their first meeting, like, they're like making out and kissing and like just being so intimate and lovey-dovey, and people are like, okay, we got to start the interview. And so you kind of can see, I think that would have been a good contrast from their first kind of like when they get called up as tributes and how they could barely look at each other and how it's so awkward and uncomfortable, to their like but their like meeting after the Hunger Games, their, intro or whatever after they won the Hunger Games, and how different the two are. Also, like, Peeta finds out, or kind of starts to suspect, especially with the way that like Katniss is talking, that, that she may have been playing up this whole love thing for the cameras during the whole Hunger Games. When his feelings are, from what we think at this point, genuine, hers are more confused because she was also trying to survive. Girl, you gotta do what you gotta do, so I get it. But he's upset about that. And they don't show any of that at the end. All she says at the end of the movie is, I want to forget. And he's like, I don't want to forget. So maybe they're going to talk about that. Maybe they're going to like put some of this in the movie too. The movie does a good job at trimming a lot of the fat that's in the book, because, we spend a lot of time with Katniss in the forest. We spend a lot of time with her and Peeta, his leg basically falling off and being disgusting because he has a really deep cut to his bone. So, and I'm right, they don't amputate his leg in the movie. He looks as if he has a leg. I don't know, but they make it a point to talk about his leg in the book. Yeah, I think that the movie does, I thought, a good job at like keeping the tone and the casting, and I think they played up a little certain things and kind of toned down other things. But as far as adaptations go, this is actually pretty good. I've seen some bad adaptations, especially of YA novels, and I can see why people were like goo goo gaga over this, because it's a really fucked up story, but it's done very, very well, I would say. So now I want to watch the second movie, but I need to read the book first. So I'm going to read the book. I already have, my friend let me borrow his box set. So I already have Catching Fire, and it's just as big as the first one. You would think, because the font is like kind of massive, you would think that it wouldn't take me that long. These books are almost 500 pages, like 475 pages. So for some reason it just takes me a little longer. But I will say, this movie having a great soundtrack, and I was right, because right now they're playing Safe and Sound on the credits, and that's a great song. I remember like the Taylor Swift song is actually a pretty good song, and Safe and Sound was written, I think, by Taylor Swift. So, I know, it has a really good soundtrack. What an experience. What an experience. This was kind of fun. I'm gonna probably start Catching Fire now before I go to work. And we'll see how far I get before I have to leave. Happy Hunger Games! Good morning. Happy Sunday. I wanted to come on here because I wanted to update about Catching Fire. I am 210 pages into Catching Fire and I have a lot of thoughts because, again, I read these books when they first came out, which means that I actually don't remember anything that happened in Catching Fire. So it's really interesting to read the book as a 35-year-old. The situation that Katniss and Peeta and everyone is in is fucked up. So after the Hunger Games, after they win the Hunger Games, her and Peeta have to go on this like victory tour, which means they have to go around to all the other districts where the other tributes who were sent to the Hunger Games have all been killed. Okay. And so now they are like a physical representation of the deaths of these other kids that have been killed in the Hunger Games. And now they have to go to these districts and be like, hi, yeah, we won the Hunger Games. And like, nah, but your tribute's dead. Like, what? So that's crazy, first of all. And I feel really bad for, okay, let me backtrack. So one, that's like the most fucked up thing. And Katniss is obviously not dealing with it very well. I don't know how you could be. And she's really struggling, clearly. We don't get a lot from like Peeta because it's like told from Katniss's point of view. So we don't really know necessarily how he's struggling. I'm sure he is. And I think that like for him, he is also like in love with this girl, I guess. So that's hard. But let's talk about this love triangle. Okay. So apparently now Gail is like, let me throw my hat in the ring. And I was talking to a friend about this the other day because she's also reading the series again. And she was like, I feel like Gail is like, oh, when guys figure out, like take forever to figure out that they actually like you. And they don't really figure it out until they have like competition. And I feel like that's exactly what's happening with Gail. This has been your best friend for years. And again, I do feel like they're so young that maybe they're not really like exploring that, which is fine. They're super young. Why would they need to? And also I'm realizing they're 16 or 17 in this because she's like 16 when she goes into the Hunger Games. And then coming back and win the victory. That's another thing. So Gail, whatever. But I think that there's like similar feelings from her. And at first I was like, oh, Gail, whatever about Gail. But Katniss is also experiencing that same thing too, because she thinks about if the tables were turned, if he was with another girl. And she was like, no, he's mine. So it's kind of like, maybe they're just like now exploring that. And also you have Peeta, who it didn't take him any time to realize that he was in love or loved Katniss. But Katniss is like, I don't know how I feel, which valid for her because one, she's 16, okay? Second, she was trying to survive in the Hunger Games, okay? I do think she has like developed close feelings with Peeta. Is it liking feelings, loving feelings? I don't know. She was trying to survive, and trying to survive, you're gonna do what you gotta do. Peeta is kind of like, I feel like Peeta's like, well, I've liked you this whole time, but Peeta is like, I don't feel like he's like fighting for her. I feel, which is fine, valid. Like, I don't think he needs to. Being him, he's taking care of his family and he's mad at her because he's like, you're basically lied to me and played me, throughout the whole games. And I'm sure he's hurt by that. Valid. And he's just like, I'm going to continue on my life, but he's still there to support her with whatever she needs, whatever Katniss needs, which I think is very sweet of him. So there's that little love triangle, whatever. The crazy thing on top of all of that, and the thing that really makes me sad, is Katniss has stated multiple times that she does not want to get married. She's never wanted to get married, and she's never going to bring kids into this world because obviously the world they live in is very fucked up. And now they're forcing this freaking marriage on her to Peeta. I feel so bad for her because she's in an impossible position. She's trying to like make things right because, she made a fool of the Capitol or whatever. President Snow, he's super petty. So he says they must get married, which She's 16. There's probably 16, 17. Like, that's crazy. Now she's like forced to join this union that she never wanted. And how do you even grow a relationship out of that with her and PETA? Their relationship needs a lot of therapy if they were to ever to build a real one, you know? And it's interesting because, like, you know, I feel like President Snow blames her for inciting all this uprisings and blah 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 blah. And like, it was definitely stirring before that. I think that, like, you know, they call her the spark, which makes sense because she kind of like, not, I mean, she probably just added fuel to the fire. I mean, why wouldn't you want to rebel against these states? I mean, you're obviously living in fear, all of these districts. You know, she just, I feel like they see her and they're like, oh, okay, girl, I see you. And so now they're like, maybe we can do it, you know? But the capital, they're literally killing the districts off, like after uprisings. Like, they're limiting their food source. How do you, you know, you don't physically kill people. It's like, how do you slowly do that? You cut off their water, you cut off their food, and they're basically starving to death. Like, you don't have to publicly execute them. There are other ways that the capital is like basically killing off these districts, which is horrible. So this is a crazy story, to say the least. I'm 210 pages in. They just announced that because it's the quarter quill, now we're on 75 years of the Hunger Games. The little twist of this is that the next Hunger Games will be filled with people who have already been in the Hunger Games, victors. So all the victors from the past 75 years, which is crazy, will be in the pool to get their names picked out to go in again. I knew that was coming. I was like waiting for it, and I didn't know if it was like in this book or the third book. I'm really excited to watch this movie. This book is crazy. And it's so fucked up. Jesus Christ. But I'm having a really good time reading these books, which is interesting. I will, update when I finish the book, honestly, or if I have more things to say, but I'll come back later. Okay, so I am 305 pages into Catching Fire, and I love a rebellion, especially against a corrupt government, but it's so hard because, like, I know that Katniss is not gonna die in this one because there's a third book. I've seen the movies, you know, we get it, but she's doing so many things, her and PETA, and I mean, PETA's a great guy. He's a stand-up guy in this. I mean, Haymitch tells Katniss he will never deserve him, and I'm starting to believe it. But, you know, she hangs Seneca Crane at the, like, little, I don't even know what it's called, but when the, like, game keepers, makers, whatever, see their, like, talents or whatever, or their skills, which I was like, girl, why'd you do that? And then PETA draws the picture of Rue, which is like, in a way, obviously it's like a little rebellious, but I'm also like, oh, it's so sweet. But then Cinna, we love Cinna. Like, we love him. We love Lenny Kravitz. We love Cinna. And then he burns her wedding dress and turns her into a Mockingjay. The first thing I said when that happens is, he's getting killed for this. And keep in mind, I probably sound so dumb right now because this is like a reread, but I read this over 10 years ago, and I have not watched the movies since they came out. So I don't remember anything that's gonna happen. I know that Cinna dies. I know that. I'm pretty sure, but like, I don't remember why or how. There's a scene that I saw where they're like dragging him away right before she goes up into the second Hunger Games that she has to participate in, the quarter quill. And so I'm assuming they're going to torture him or something bad. Something that's bad is going to happen. I know that. I know that for sure. And I'm just like, as soon as like the dress burned and he turned her into a Mockingjay, I was like, this can't be good. This can't be good. Liking it a lot better than I did when I first read it back. I don't even know. I'm trying to figure out when it was that I read it because these came out before Goodreads, okay? And I believe they came out in 2009. I was like in my second year of college by then. I don't think I read them then. I feel like I read them later. I read them on my Kindle, so maybe it was around then. I don't know. But then I remember I looked at my Goodreads and it says like, oh, you added this book to like your TBR jar shelf in 2015. But they came out way before that. It's because I got the box set in 2015 because I never had physical copies. Like, why would I add it to my TBR jar if I'd already read it? That's what I'm confused about what my tracking. And then, oh, hi. And then it says that you finished this book 5 years ago, or you marked this book read 5 years ago, which I know I read it more than 5 years ago because I moved to New York 5 years ago and I wasn't reading Hunger Games 5 years ago. So I know it's been over 10 years. I'm pretty sure of that. Very interesting to read this after 10 years because it's honestly like I don't remember anything. But it's making it even more fun. It's official. I have finished Catching Fire and I am about to watch the movie. I'm so tired, so I don't even know like how far I'm going to get. I'm trying to remember like the last time I updated. It's been a couple of days. I finished this Catching Fire. This is like the first, not the first, but I feel like I don't really binge series that much anymore, but like this is really getting me back to my binge. But I can tell I'm starting to get fatigued because I already started Mockingjay and I'm like a little over 100 pages in, 129 pages in, almost 130, and I can tell I'm like getting fatigued. I feel like what's happening in here is literally like going in one ear and out the other. But I don't want to read any more of this until I at least start Catching Fire because my goal was to read the book and then watch the movie and then start the next books. But I just have not had time to watch Catching Fire until right now. I feel like something similar is happening to me than when I first read it. So I was looking at my old ratings and I rated Catching Fire a 3-star before, and I think I'm probably gonna like go with that. I think maybe like a 3.5, but I feel like this time for some reason like the first part is so interesting to me because of what Katniss is dealing with, just so much trauma from what she experienced in the Hunger Games. Hello. Then having to like go, okay. We have a friend. Then having to go like back into the Hunger Games. And then after that, I kind of feel like it goes like off the rails because I was kind of like, what is happening in here while I'm while I'm reading. I'm like, what is happening? Because, you know, they're all trying to save Peeta and she doesn't really know about it. And he's trying to save her. She's trying to save him. I don't know. I'm just like, there seems to be a lot happening. We get Finnick, you know, we love him. But I feel like one of the craziest things in this is that they're saying that she's pregnant. Like, first of all, she's 17, okay? And they're using this pregnancy thing to get them, what, more sympathy? Lovers, and they're about to get married, they're engaged. And then Peeta's like, oh, she's pregnant. Like, what? We're using a pregnancy trope? She's 17. And then they still throw her back into the games. That's freaking wild. The book ends like on a real, just like cliffhanger, which, you know, they take Peeta. Well, they don't even, do they even know if they take Peeta then? I don't even remember. But, you know, we just get the like District 12, their District 12 is gone or whatever. I feel similarly that like this book, it's not useless, but it's just a bridge to get to this. Because the first book is like, you get the Hunger Games and it's really violent and you're just like, whoa, what is this? And the second one, Katniss is really struggling with what happened in the Hunger Games and also her relationship with both Peeta and Gale because I don't think she even understands either of them. And it makes sense to me that she would have some deep feelings for Peeta because, I mean, what they went through, obviously they're going to have feelings for each other. Not in like, it doesn't have to be in a romantic way, but they're going to have some kind of connection, some kind of bond, considering they literally survived the Hunger Games together. I just feel like this one, I'm just like, not that I could do without it because it is important, I think, in getting us to the third book, but I feel like this is where shit is going to go down. Okay. And I don't want to say too much about it yet, but it's interesting because, you know, I feel like Katniss is really starting to realize like, these people are just using me. She's agreed to be the Mockingjay. It's almost like it's paralleling or mimicking the things that she went through. She almost has like a glam team for her to be the Mockingjay, the same way she has a glam team to go into the Hunger Games. And because they're like getting her camera ready and it just feels so fake and it doesn't work. It's clear that it's not going to work. They give her a face full of makeup and she has like this specific costume and it's just, it doesn't work. She's a symbol, and that's all she is. We're now with like President Coin, and President Coin has her own agenda. All of these people have their own agenda, and they're just using Katniss to fulfill that agenda. And I think she's starting to realize that. And now, again, we're in District 13, which is another crazy thing because it's like they've lived underground this whole time, and yet they are kind of thriving. Even though they went through a lot of hardships, it took them a long time to like kind of thrive. Everything is ordered, and they have times for everything. And it's like no one is just, you're free, but like on a schedule. And so it's very orderly, I guess, in District 13. And it's like the Capitol just let another district live and then use them as like propaganda of like to scare the other citizens in the other districts. Crazy. And I almost feel bad for Katniss in a way because she is just being used by all of these people. And I think she's realizing that because they all have their own agendas. And so does she. I mean, she has her own agenda also. And Pina is now with the Capitol. This is all from Mockingjay. So it's like, I've read ahead and I don't want to do that because I want to watch the movie. But I'm going to watch Catching Fire right now. But we already know that Pina is with the Capitol. And not with them, but they kidnapped him. I don't think people really think that he's like on their side. He literally was about to give his life for Katniss. Do we really think that he would just give her up or turn against her so quickly? You know they're torturing him or brainwashing him or doing whatever they can to him. Because I just don't think there's any way that he would turn on Katniss unless they were really messing with him. So there's that. But I am going to watch Catching Fire. And hopefully I can make it through the whole thing. If not, I'll watch it. I'll finish it tomorrow night. Can I just say, I've already started and I love the music for this. I forgot to say that while I've been reading, I've been listening to the soundtracks of each book on Spotify. And so like when I read Hunger Games, the first one, I listened to like the original soundtrack. When I was reading Catching Fire, I listened to the Catching Fire soundtrack, and it's all by James Howard. And it's like, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. And then I started listening to the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 this morning. And the thing is, I already listened to music scores while I'm reading. So I already had like the first song, The Mockingjay, downloaded. The song Katniss and then the song The Mockingjay are very similar. And I love that. I love the song The Mockingjay. It's so good. The scores in this film are amazing. And listening to it while I read, amazing. I don't want to turn the light on. Sorry, I have to say that Elizabeth Banks is the perfect Effie trinket. Hands down. She's eating everything that she's doing. And it's so crazy because like she believes what she's doing is right and good. She's grooming and handling. She's basically their handler. You know, just getting these kids ready for slaughter. All of them are. And yet we still love Effie Trinket. And we love Cinna. And it's kind of crazy because we fall in love with these characters. And yet things they are doing. And it's funny because the prequel novel, which I will be reading after Mockingjay, is about Snow. And oddly enough, I feel like it's like, oh, it's Philip Seymour Hoffman. Oh my God, I forgot he was in this. Why did I think that Plutarch was a black man? I don't know what it was about. For some reason, I kept thinking of the black wizard in Harry Potter, the guy that wears kind of like the hat. You know who I'm talking about? I'm going to have to look up his name. That's who I pictured Plutarch as. Wow. Anyway, the prequel is about President Snow. And, I remember being like, nobody asked for this. But the more and more I'm watching this movie, I'm like, actually, a prequel about President Snow would actually be kind of fire. Because I love a good villain. And he's, like, not the best villain. He's just, like, killing children. And he's, like, just no motivation at all. I mean, obviously he wants to keep them in line and not have like a rebellion, but it's like, you're so corrupt. Like, what is your motivate? Why are you killing these kids? You're crazy. A prequel would be interesting. And I get a prequel. I don't know if it's the prequel I want, because that's happened before, but I think it'll be interesting. This movie is really happening differently than it does in the book. Oh. I'm watching the PETA whipping scene and like, what the hell? Oh, wow. She just got punched in the face. What am I watching? I also really don't remember Plutarch and President Snow having so much time together, planning on basically how to take Katniss Everdeen down. I don't remember any of that. I'm telling you. You're reading it and I'm like, what? I don't remember that at all. I feel like Plutarch is giving him all these ideas about putting them in the quarter quill. I don't remember that at all. Not Jeffrey Wright playing Beetee. What? Oh, I love seeing people that I forget are in the films, and we get to see lovely Jeffrey Wright, and that's just a pleasure. They actually have Katniss see the drawing of Rue that PETA does before she decides to do a hanging of Seneca Crane. Interesting choice. This movie is making some interesting choices to move it along. I cannot imagine watching this scene with Cinna in the theaters. What? It's so fucked up. That scene actually makes me sick to my stomach. When I like watching it right now, after reading everything that happens, it makes me sick to my stomach. Chaotic reading vlog, but I am almost done with Mockingjay. I'm reading Mockingjay so fast, like Catching Fire and Mockingjay went by so quickly. I am officially in DC. I came to visit my cousin and we are going to see Beyonce's documentary. Tomorrow it'll be my third time because I'm obsessed with it. And we're also gonna see Madonna in concert, which is really cool. And I never thought I would see Madonna in concert, which is wild. But anyway, back to Mockingjay because I have thoughts. Okay, first of all, Mockingjay is interesting because I said in the last vlog that like, I felt like book 2 was almost just like filler, okay? And I feel like we just started using book 2 to get to like book 3, which obviously, but it's almost like I didn't need book 2. It's just filler because book 3, Mockingjay, is where the shit is going down because basically Katniss has decided to become the Mockingjay and she is literally just a figurehead. Like they are just using her to be the head of the rebellion and I feel like she's not even really like doing that much. Like I just feel like, you know, they can't risk losing her, obviously, because she's the face of the rebellion. It's giving reality show. It's giving reality show because they're literally giving her costumes and having her read these lines, having her read this speech, and I'm just like, it's giving reality show. And even like, there's a scene where she's singing this hanging tree, which dark AF, okay? She's singing that song and I can just hear like how it's being sung because it's in the movies or it's at least in the new Hunger Games. I've heard someone sing it and they have the cameras rolling and they're like, oh my God, I'm so glad we got that. Like everything she's doing, they're just like, oh, So glad the camera's rolling. And it's like, it just seems so inauthentic. But it's just so interesting. It's just like it's such a production. And they're creating Katniss as the Mockingjay. And it's just like a production. It's giving reality show. I wasn't ready for that. I'm already at the point where Peeta's back. They've rescued Peeta. But like at the beginning, it felt like nobody gave a fuck about Peeta. Like nobody cares to rescue him. We didn't get a talk about rescuing him. It took maybe like 300 pages, maybe 200 pages for them to be like, we're gonna rescue Peeta. And they're only doing that, and they say this, they're only doing that because Katniss is having like a horrible mental breakdown, and they know that she cannot be the Mockingjay. She cannot focus on being the Mockingjay if Peeta is continually being tortured. So it's like, you're rescuing Peeta because you want to save him and because you think he's important, or you're just doing it to serve Katniss's needs. These people don't deserve Peeta because he's a good guy, even though he wants to kill her now, but he was brainwashed, okay? And, I forgive him. And it's crazy because it's like seeing where they are now, where he's like literally trying to figure out like who he is. I have no idea how they're gonna then at the end of the book be together. I don't see that. I don't understand how that's even gonna happen, honestly. You know how it's giving reality show. It's also giving Tropic Thunder, and I hate saying that because that movie, but it's like they're in a war, but they're like filming a movie, and they like that's exactly what this feels like, and it's almost like laughable. It's almost a parody of them filming a movie, and it's ridiculous. And then they're having them like reenact their reactions to like this bomb going off, and I'm like, what? It's giving Tropic Thunder. It's giving Tropic Thunder. And then there are a couple more things. It's crazy that she's only 17. It's crazy that these kids are 17. It's crazy that they were going to use a pregnancy for sympathy, and then an abortion for also a schmorshman for sympathy also. The length that these people are going to. And then the last thing, talk about the fact that Finnick was involved in sex trafficking. What? I've read this book before, and I read that where they talk about his story and how he used to sell his body to the people in the Capitol. I audibly was like, oh, what? I don't remember that. I don't remember that. These are kids. I mean, Finnick is not a kid. I think he's in his 20s. He's like 24. He's still really young, but like, I'm like, wait, Finnick sold it for secret? That's why they're like, oh, he has so many friends in the Capitol. What? Why are we sex trafficking people? What the hell? Like, why are we prostituting Finnick? Like, what the hell? That was honestly crazy to me. I just didn't see that coming at all. Like, at all. But I'm in bed. I have my bonnet, and we're just gonna go with it. And I am gonna read some more Mockingjay. I'm so tired though, like ridiculously tired. I'm probably not gonna get very far. I'm on page 324, and I would love to finish this soon, but it's early. It is 9:12, and I'm probably gonna go to bed. Just got back from Busboys and Poets, which is this amazing like bookstore / really good restaurant in DC. And we always go there when I'm in DC, which only been twice. We went to church, and then we went to Busboys and Poets. I've had a lot of coffee. After we eat, we usually go to the bookstore portion, and they have just like such cute stuff, like such cute trinkets, and we got coffee, and I got some prints. First print I got, it says Get Lit, and they're from Ash and Chess. It says Get Lit. I absolutely am obsessed. And then the second one, because I saw these prints last time and I really wanted to get them, but I just was like, no, because I bought so many stickers and stuff last time. So, oh, there's my cousin. Say hi. Hi. I also got this other print, and it's this cool little mushroom thing. It says good things are coming, and I wanted to get this one last time, but last time I just, like I said, I was buying so many stickers and magnets, so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. I didn't buy any stickers this time though, because I was like, I want to get the prints, and I found their like thing online, but I just wanted to get them from there, and it says good things are coming. So I'm gonna frame these or put them up in my, because I want to make a gallery wall for my apartment, and because I have some ideas about things that I want to make and put up. So I got those two prints, but the Shining Glory, the diamond that I found at this store, why did anyone not tell me that Cerestia Glass had a new book out? Okay, The Love Con was one of my favorite books this year, and I didn't know she was writing another book. This is how long, like, I have not been on Instagram, and I follow her, and like, I know she's posted this, but oh my God, nobody talks about her romance books, and they are so good. They take place in like the gaming kind of world. The first one's about like a plus size girl who does like cosplay, and she meets this cute little white boy, and he like reminds her of Thor, and like it's amazing. The rep in the book is amazing. It's funny. It's great. But she has a second book out, and I saw this at the bookstore. I was freaking out. I literally stood there and I was like, because I have been waiting. I was like, when is she gonna write something else? And she did. And it's called Game On. And as you can see, obviously it's from the video game world. And like, I know I'm reading Hunger Games right now, and I know that this vlog is about Hunger Games, but I have to start reading this. But I'm almost done with Hunger Games, so I feel like I can like move on soon. And I'm still trying to figure out what I'm gonna read for like my 100th book. And I don't know if this could be it. I don't know what to read for my 100th book, honestly, because I'm on, once I finish Mockingjay, that'll be 96. No, 97. Oh shit. 97. Oh God, let me see. I don't know if you can see. 95 out of 100. So Mockingjay will be 96. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes will be 97, which is so interesting, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the title, because songbirds are like, in the Hunger Games series, it's, you know, Mockingjays usually are the kind of the songbirds, I guess, but there's birds that sing, and they sing back to you when you sing at them, and I feel like the songbirds are kind of like the tributes, like Katniss in, I guess, the new book Lucy Gray, and then the snakes, they reference like President Snow as the snake a lot. The Capitol are snakes, but the President Snow, he's a snake. So it's interesting, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Sorry, I just got the title. And I haven't even read the book because it's a love story, no? It's like this prequel of Snow, but he loves Lucy Gray. So it's a ballad, their song, ballad, like a song, like a love song between songbirds and snakes. That's what I'm gonna think it's about. That's what I think it's about. That's what I'm gonna say. That's what it is. So that'll be, once I read Mockingjay 96, and then Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes will be 97. Then I own 98, 99, 100. So 3 more books after that. I don't know what I want it to be for my 100th book, but we have some time before we're gonna watch the Beyonce documentary. This will be my 3rd time watching the Beyonce documentary, and I'm not ashamed of that. I watched Oppenheimer 5 times, and honestly, I might watch the Beyonce documentary 5 times. So, and I have my little poster and my Oppenheimer. Anyway, as you can see, like I said, I've had a lot of coffee, and I'm gonna try and finish Mockingjay before we go see Beyonce. shook up about that. Like, that's so weird to me. Like, he gets eaten by the mutts. Like, are we not going to talk about that? Like, they're just moving on already. Yeah, Finnick just died. I wasn't expecting that. I don't remember him dying. That's like, I'm telling you, I'm reading this book and it's like a whole new book. Yeah, Finnick just got eaten by the mutts. Like, what happened? And I put the book down and I just sat here in shock. We only get him for 2 books, but he's a pretty, like, memorable character, I think, especially because the last thing that really shook me about Finnick is his story about how he basically, like, had to prostitute himself in the capital. And now he's just dead. He just got Annie back. He got married to Annie and now he's dead. Now he's eaten by the mutts. I'm actually, like, kind of sad about that. Fuck. Whew. Bro just died. I did not think I would get so emotional at Prim dying. That's so fucked. First of all, he kills all these children. And then, when Prim goes in to help them, more bombs go off. I knew Prim was going to die because my friend was like, oh, remember when Prim died? And I was like, what? I didn't remember that at all. But I figured someone like her or Gail or someone's like gonna have to, I know she ends up with PETA, so like I know someone closer is gonna have to die, more people. But I didn't remember how Prim died, and like, that's crazy. That sucks. I didn't think I would like care so much, but wow. I mean, I'm reading them like one after the other, so it's like really sad. I honestly can't wait to watch this movie because there's so much like, this is essentially like a war military novel. Like that's what it is. And I can't wait to watch like how they pull this off because this is just like so grand. It feels like so big, so bloody and gruesome and just gritty, and I'm so interested to see how they pull this off. No wonder they made 2 movies. Also, I have like less than 50 pages left, and I'm like, there's still a lot that needs to be resolved in my opinion. So I was kind of like, even 60 pages ago, I'm like, we only have this many pages left. Like, there has to be more of the book, more of the story. It feels like it's going to be wrapping up very quickly. I don't know how I feel about that. Wait, so Katniss is living in President Snow's mansion, but President Snow also lives there? Still? Or are they just taking him like to the Rose Garden because he's getting like special treatment? He goes, we both know I'm not above killing children, but I'm not wasteful. This man is wild. I take life for very specific reasons. I knew Coin was shit. I knew it. literally can't trust anyone. Plutarch? I don't know. And Coin? Well, we know Coin had her own agenda. I'm sure he wasn't gunning for your sister, but these things happen. Why do I believe him? Why do I believe him? That's the crazy thing. Oh, my dear Miss Everdeen, I thought we had agreed not to lie to each other. I don't know who to believe. I believe him because I knew Coin was shit. I knew it. I mean, he's shit, Coin is shit. They're all shit. They all just have their own agenda. They're the top. They're the president. They all just have their own agenda. They don't care about the people at all. Sounds familiar. They don't care about the people. They just want to be in rule. And he's right about District 13. They say earlier on, oh, District 13 had all these weapons and he left all the other districts just to like fend for themselves. Seems sus. I must get more coffee. You know what I think I want? I think I want an Effie Trinket book. And I know that's weird, but Effie Trinket to me is such an interesting character because she's back. I have 30 pages left in the book. We haven't seen Effie Trinket since the second book. Since the Quarter Quill, the night before the Quarter Quill, okay? I'm not really sure how long the Quarter Quill was, like how long the games were, but like we haven't seen her since then. And there's a lot that's happened, obviously. So you're kind of like, where is Effie this whole time, first of all? You know, they say like, oh, they say Plutarch and Haymitch had a hard time keeping her alive, which is really sad because like either she was injured or hurt or she just wanted to die because she's maybe realizing the horrors of either what she's been doing and it's so sad because like clearly she's like from the capital. I almost feel like Effie is like not from the capital, like she's from a different district and somehow she got promoted or worked her way up. I don't know, but somehow ended up being like the host because she's the host of the Hunger Games for District 13. So it's like, or for District 12. So it's like, she's like their handler. And I don't know how you get that job because you have to think about like, Effie's like, I'm handling these kids and sending them to slaughter. So like, how does that play on your mental state? And we don't see her for an entire book till the end. So I wonder if we're gonna get some combos between Effie and Katniss because Effie seems pretty distraught in like the second movie, the second book, because especially when they have to go into the games again, she's pretty emotional about it. So at least they show that in the movie. So I don't know, like I guess the President Snow story is interesting, but an Effie book, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it. Sorry, I'm just thinking about how they're planning for her to execute Snow. She has one arrow, and is it going to be a public execution where she just fires an arrow into his heart in front of the entire world? That seems too public. I feel like she'd want an intimate, it feels like to me, it should be like that scene in Game of Thrones where Tyrion kills Tywin, his father, with an arrow, right? Where it's just him and his father and they're just like in this small little thing and Tyrion just kills Tywin. Like I feel like that's the vibe it seems like it should be, not this like public spectacle, which everything in this book has been a freaking spectacle. Damn. I feel like this is like kind of the last goodbye for her and Gale because his bomb may have killed Prim. And that's unforgivable. Unforgivable in her eyes and all of our eyes, I think. Like it'd be like, Gale, you designed this weaponry. Why did you drop the bomb? If the plane was piloted by rebels, and those rebels happen to be working with, you know, Gale and Beatty, and we love Beatty, but if they had dropped the bomb that accidentally, of course, because Prim was, you know, a medic, like if they had dropped that bomb and it killed Prim, she'll never be able to look at Gale the same way, which I don't blame her. So, bye, Gale. Coin is a, what the fuck? Let's have another Hunger Games with the children who are directly related to the people in the cat. What? Girl, the whole point is to stop this barbaric nature, and you want to continue to have a Hunger Games? Girl, go sit down. Because then they're no better than them. They're no better than the people in the Capitol. Let's have a Hunger Games using Capitol children. Children are, I'm sorry, but children are not responsible for what has gone on for the last 75 years, okay? The people that are responsible for what has gone on in the last 75 years are the people at the top, the people in power. And now that is Coin. And now Coin wants to do the same exact thing that the people in power that over the last 75 years have done. She wants to do that again. Make it make sense. This is Coin math. Like, girl, not even girl math, not even point. This is Coin math. This will make sense. And for her to tell them, and if we vote on this and it goes through, everyone will know that, like, you approve this, like the victors. What is she trying to do? Nothing has changed. Nothing will ever change now. Katniss voted yes. See, I'm telling you, it's been years. I don't remember any of this. Katniss voted yes for Prim? Girl, it's just a psycho. Oh my god. I'm with the Mockingjay, he says. I actually don't think it's like Katniss to vote yes. I do think either she's so far in her grief for Prim that she can't see clearly, which I think is the case, but I think that maybe if Prim were still alive, that there's no way that she would vote yes for them to have another Hunger Games, considering that it's the exact same thing that happened to her and Peeta. Like, Peeta is making, in my opinion, the right choice. Like, why would you want to continue this? It's like, you're getting vengeance. They were getting vengeance. Now you're getting vengeance. Now they're getting like, it's just it's a never-ending cycle of vengeance. It doesn't make sense to punish the children. Like, what did they do? They didn't ask to be born into this life, just like Katniss didn't ask to be born into this life. Neither did Peeta. So what? Snow's granddaughter? What good does that do? You're already killing Snow. Like, this is how I know Coin is shit. Because that's a horrible plan. I'm sorry, but that's a horrible plan. I really have to, like, stop myself. Like, I have to, like, cover, because there's always something crazy that happens at the end of the chapter, and I have to, like, cover it. That's the one good thing about reading on your Kindle. Is like, you literally cannot see the next page. Like, you can't see it until it's there. But with books, like, you literally, I have to stop myself from reading ahead sometimes. He's already dying. You know what I mean? Like, he's already dying. Oh, my dear Miss Everdeen, I thought we had agreed not to lie to each other. He's right, we did. President Coin collapses over the side of the balcony and plunges to the ground, dead. That's what she gets. Her plan was so stupid. Like, I've officially finished the original Hunger Games trilogy, and I'm crying. Oh, you can see it a little bit. I'm crying. I never thought that I would cry. I never thought that these books would make me cry. Had to come upstairs and film this. The third book book is just so sad. Like, the first book is really violent and also sad and so fucked up because you're just like thrown into this world and you witness just like the violence and brutality. And then like the second book is like filler, like, you know, Katniss is kind of like slowly dealing with what happened and like what that means like right after you win the Hunger Games. But this book, I really feel like the weight of what is happening is finally upon Katniss. The weight of what has happened with Peeta, the weight of what has happened in the Hunger Games, the weight of the war. It's just all there, and she essentially goes insane. Like, this is a book about a girl who had to go through some horrendous things, and she essentially goes insane. That's it, and she wants to kill herself. That's it. She wants to end her life at the end of the book. Even though the book kind of like wraps up in like a happy note, it's like one page of happiness because I feel like the book wraps up pretty quickly, but you know, she's back in District 12 at the Victor's Village. Haymitch is back, but like Haymitch barely visits because he's, you know, he dulls all his pain with alcohol. So he never really, I don't really think he's been a mentor for 23 years. Like, I don't really think he like deals with that, like lets himself feel any of the pain because it's too bad. And I think it's too horrible. And I think he would probably kill himself also. But Katniss, like, feel like she somehow in moments feels all the pain, has to feel all the pain that's like she's been through. And it's crazy because she started out 16 and I don't know, like, I think she's only maybe 17 when the book ends. So this is all like the span, the 3 books are a span of like, I don't know, maybe a year or so, a year or 2 years, maybe 2 years. That's a short amount of time to go through as much traumatic things that she has gone through. And I was crying because like the last, like before the epilogue, you know, it's just like her and Peeta grow back together and she says like, Gale is angry, okay? Gale's very angry, and I get it. And, like, he holds a lot of that anger. And he's, like, a soldier. He's a fighter. And Peeta, I think, makes her feel safe in a way that Gale does not. And I think that that's very important. And when she's been at her, like, lowest, Peeta is also the only one that actually understands that. Because I think, like, before the games, like, you know, they just lived their life. They hunted. Like, they knew they weren't rich or anything. They were kind of poor. They knew it was shitty. But they had like this life and that was that. And then the Hunger Games came in and changed everything and just took everything from her sister, her, you know, her best friend, their relationship changed, her mom, like all of these things, and thrust so much responsibility onto her. And she's 16, she's 17. And then there's Peeta. To have someone that you were like in love with, I guess, and you guys saved each other in the games, to have somebody brainwash you into believing the opposite and then you wanting to kill her and then having to fight your way back to understanding like, no, this is not what really happened, what's real, what's not real. That also seems like that would fuck you up. And it's like they're both these like fucked up souls at the end where they're just trying to find a little bit of solace and good and joy in like having each other and just living this like simple life in District 12. It's so sad at the end to me. Like it's bittersweet because there's no more Hunger Games. The Capitol's done. Like they can just live their lives, but the trauma of what they've gone through will be with them forever and it will trickle down to their kids in ways that they probably don't even know. And you know, we know they do have kids at the end. And she says, I'm gonna have to tell them about my dreams and I have to tell them about why. This whole series is really sad. Like it's really good and really sad. Like this, I don't know, did this come from a place of pain of like what is going on in the world? Like there's some things too in these books that I'm like, this sounds very familiar. America, is that you? Like, I don't know. I'm giving this book like a 4, like a 4.5. Because some of it was a little bit hard for me to follow, like the war stuff, but the emotion was there for me in the last book. And like, I haven't binged a series in so long. And I could feel myself getting a little fatigued, like towards the beginning of the second of the third book, but then like as things started to pick up, and like now we're at the end, and I am crying. I did not think I would be crying, but I feel really just so heartbroken for Katniss and Peeta. I feel like they will stay with me forever. I'm telling you, reading these books in your like when you're an adult is crazy, because I also read Harry Potter for the first time. Not for the first time, but like the full series for the first time, because I had read like the first 3 as they were coming out when I was like very young, but I never made it through like 4 through 7. And so when I was like 20 or like early 20, late 20, like my 20s, 26 or something like that, I read the whole series from first to last book straight through. And that was one of the greatest reading experiences I have ever had. And there was something different about reading it as an adult. And then reading this like in my 30s at 35 is just like, we've seen a lot of shit in the last, as a millennial, I've seen a lot of shit. And these books like hit differently. It's crazy. I underestimated them because when I first read them when I was younger, I did not think they were that good. I was like, oh, they're okay. But I'm a fan. Suzanne Collins, you got me. I'm a fan. Because they're so sad. They're so sad. And now I'm going to read the prequel. And I was thinking, like, has Suzanne Collins written anything else besides this? I don't think so. Like, what? I don't know. I have to look that up. But I think it's like this in the prequel, right? I don't know. But I'm sure she's living good. She doesn't need to write anything else. These books are hugely popular. So now I need to read the prequel. But I want to watch the other movies, so I'm like a little bit torn. I'm going home tomorrow, so I might be able to like finish the movies tomorrow night when I get home. At least the second, and maybe Mockingjay Part 1. And then maybe, but I don't want to wait too long to start reading the prequel. But I think I'm gonna go edit. I'm gonna take a break from reading. I'm gonna go edit, and then I will be back when I'm probably watching the movies. Good morning. I'm back in New York, and I just wanted to update because I watched a little bit more of Mockingjay last night, and Mockingjay Part 1, and some things have changed, definitely. One big thing, though, is that Effie's there. Effie is a part of District 13 now, which in the book, I'm pretty sure she says I haven't seen Effie since the night before the quarter quill. Which makes me believe that Effie is like a capital citizen, and she just was like maybe in the capital, or she was held prisoner. I'm not sure, but I don't see why they wouldn't try to get her out if she was being held prisoner. So not quite sure, but in the movie she's in District 13 and she's helping Katniss. So that's a little different because yeah, Effie's not supposed to be there. So it's kind of like, also that means like, where is Effie from? Because nobody that lived in the capital, unless you're part of the rebellion, and I know Effie's not part of the rebellion, like would go to District 13. She would just live in the capital. So I'm not sure what they decided to do about Effie. I just feel like they were like, we love Elizabeth Banks, so we're going to put her in the whole movie, which, great girl, get your coin. We're home watching a Mockingjay. And like, what is this movie? Like, I'm confused because, so they're about to rescue Peeta. I do not remember them allowing Katniss to like watch the rescue mission because she was like, oh, let me catch up. And they're like, no, they've already gone. So like, you're not going to catch up. They send her somewhere else so that she's like preoccupied, you know, while they're like trying to rescue Peeta. In the movie right now, they're allowing her to watch the rescue, which we don't even see the rescue in the book. We just come back when they're like, they got him. But now they're like waiting because something went wrong. I don't remember any of this in the book. I don't remember her talking to President Snow. I'm like pretty sure she didn't. I do know that Finnick does talk about how that Snow was like prostituting him out or whatever when he won the games, but I do not remember her being like, let me talk to Snow, let me talk to Snow. Like, what? I don't remember that at all. I don't think that that happened. I don't know. I don't think that that happened. This is the problem. The lines between movie and book get really blurred. I don't remember her talking to Snow, being like, let me talk to him. Maybe he'll let the line in. Him being like, they're in the tribute center, like him knowing that. I just feel like they got him out, and that's when, like, now, like, we know that. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. I only have 20 minutes left on Mockingjay Part 1. She hasn't even told him that she wants to kill Snow yet, which I think is interesting because that's a huge thing of one of her conditions, being like, I kill Snow. And she doesn't say that when they ask her for the conditions of her being a Mockingjay, so her being the Mockingjay. So all the movies so far have been really different except the first one. The first one I feel like does the best job at sticking to the books. And then like this one, they're like changing actual things or like adding things, which I think is interesting. Unless I'm just delusional and I just literally don't remember any of the book. The scene of Peeta trying to legit kill Katniss is so wild because, like, you know, when you read in the book, like, you know it's bad because at the end, not at the end, but like after it happened, she says spinal cord injury, like my vocal cord, like she can't speak, like all this like crazy shit. And then watching it, it's like he was choking her hard as fuck. Like that's scary. He was not playing at all. That's so scary though. And then seeing her like after, no, I don't know if like they'll probably talk about it maybe, but like the book they tell you exactly what he did and it's like, oh shit, like seeing it, that's crazy. I just need to confirm my suspicions. So I went back and I looked at the part when they're rescuing Peeta and I was right. She says, let me go with them. And they're like, no, they're already gone. And Haymitch is like, let me see what I can do. So then they're like, hey, we can film you. This will disrupt the airways. We can film you. And so what they do in the book is they have Cressida interviewing her about Peeta. When you met, just all about Peeta, why you love him, you know, whatever. Her interview's okay, but then Finnick does start to talk about his experience with the Capitol and what happened after he won his games. She does not try and talk to Snow. I don't know. I don't know why they put that in there. Weird. They do kind of like lose connection to like the people, so there is a little bit of worry, but she doesn't watch them going into the Capitol to try and rescue them, and she does an interview. She doesn't talk to President Snow, and I think that's very weird. I think the interview about her and Peeta would have been very sweet, but people make changes to make it more suspenseful, you know? And Snow knowing that they're trying to get Peeta out and them apparently him like letting them go. Interesting twist. Brienne of Tarth, the amount of star power in these films is kind of freaking me out. What it is about Peeta and Hunger Games, but it just makes me so emotional. It's just so sad, especially the stuff with Peeta. Like that's just heartbreaking because it's like he got kidnapped by the Capitol. They're torturing him. He looks rough when they get him out. Rough, like real rough. And now he has to literally figure out like who he is, and he doesn't know what's real and what's not real. And then watching the movie, like the scenes between him and Katniss, like I love the speech that Haymitch gives her. It's not really a speech, but he says, if the tables were turned, is this how you'd be treating Peeta? He would be trying to do everything he could to like get you to remember who you are, and she's like treating him like shit. Yes, he tried to kill her, but he's literally, I don't even know if the term is brainwashed. Like they said, they've turned him into a weapon, and that's just heartbreaking to me because Peeta is such a good guy, and like, or at least he's like, you could tell he's not the bad guy, you know what I mean? Like Gale, he's real angry, and I said this before, like he's a soldier and he just seems very angry, which I get it. Peeta's a little softer. Katniss is also very angry, so I feel like Katniss and Gale together would be a little toxic. They'd be good friends, but I don't know about them together. They seem a little toxic together, honestly, because they both have that like rage in them. But Peeta is like a little bit softer, and I think that complements Katniss better. But watching the stuff with Peeta and her being like, oh, I only thought of you as an ally, and he's like, friend, lover, victor, fiance, tribute, ally. I'll add that to like the list of words trying to figure you out. And like, it's just so sad. That seems like really scary to have basically all your memories changed and then having to figure out what's real and what's not real. Like, that sounds terrifying. And then you're around this person that you have been brainwashed to want to kill. I stand with Peeta. I think I'll always stand with him. I don't know what it is, but I love Peeta. And then when he's like walking up to like Katniss's like unit, and he's saying like, he's whispering like, my name is Peeta Mellark, I'm from District 12. And it's so, that part is like, because Katniss is the same thing. My name is Katniss Everdeen, I'm from District 12. Like all of that, like just remembering who you are, and then him, to see him doing that. My name is Peeta Mellark, I'm from District 12. Like, oh. The way that like in the movie Finnick takes care of Peeta, he's always the one, and I don't, maybe he's just like security detail, but I feel like, he's the one that says when Peeta says like, oh, I don't know what's real and what's not real, and Finnick's like, well, just ask, because that's what Annie does. And I feel like Finnick is really looking after Peeta because he has Annie and he knows what she's going through. So I feel like he's more empathetic to what Peeta's going through. And I feel like he really is the one like watching him. I mean, we know Katniss is just like kind of done at this point, which is a little bit annoying because they also, in the movie, they haven't had Haymitch say like, if the tables were turned, like how would he be treating you? He'd be doing everything he can to help you, get back to your normal self. And, maybe he's going to say it, but he hasn't said it yet. And I feel like Katniss is still treating him a little bit crazy, but also he has like accidentally killed someone. So, he's back under surveillance. Now I feel like Finnick is the one that's like really taking care of him. And I feel also, I'm at the point where I feel like Finnick is about to die. And I don't know, like I didn't think I'd be so disturbed by that, but I still really am. Oh my God, it's Finnick. This mutt scene is crazy! This scene is crazy. I could not like picture how this was gonna go in the book, like a little bit, but when you see it on screen, so I really thought Finnick was done. Like he's done. Like this is it. He has the trident. This is it. Oh God, this scene is crazy. This scene is crazy. Oh, there's so much action. There's so much action, and they're just left Finnick all by himself with the mutts. Like, what the frick? At least he went out fighting. Like, oh. Oh my God, and oh. And he's calling her name. It took me a moment to realize, like, when I was reading the book, I didn't realize that, okay, let me pause this, because this is like too much action. When it didn't, oh, Finnick, okay. It took me a while to realize in the book, because she says Nightlock 3 times, and I thought, I think they had like a little Nightlock thing in their, like little patch, and like a little pill in their thing, so I thought he could just grab it. He's getting like attacked by the mutts. And she says Nightlock 3 times, and I didn't realize that early in the movie, I think it's Marshall tells her like, you scream Nightlock 3 times into the hollow, and it will like self-destruct. And that's what she does for Finnick when at the end when he dies, like he's calling her name, and he just puts him out of his misery. Unlike Kato, who we literally heard being eaten alive for an hour, she just like puts Finnick out of his misery, and it's like. I love Finnick so much. To see that scene, like, oh wow. Oh, this has got action, and I still have an hour left. This is a pretty good movie. This scene alone is what's making me like. We've just met Tigress in the Hunger Games in Mockingjay. Also, I'm not me crying. I don't know why Hunger Games makes me really emotional. We almost lose Peeta because he's about to. His mental state is going, and she's like, "Stay with me," and he says, "Always." And you know, you can't say always without thinking about Snape. And anyway, you just meet Tigress. She helps them obviously, and like. Now that I'm reading the other book, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, you know, Candace is like, I'm here to kill Snow. No, Tigress says nothing, but like, obviously, I don't know if Suzanne Collins knew when she was writing Hunger Games, like, I'm gonna make Tigress Snow's cousin. I don't know what Snow does to Tigress yet, but, you know, when we meet Tigress, she has the tattoos and she looks like a tiger, and, you know, she says, like, he's like, oh, I wish I was a stylist. You were a stylist in the Hunger Games, and she says, until Snow decided I wasn't pretty enough anymore. They were really close. They lived together. They were kids together. Both of their parents are dead. They're cousins. They're family. So what the hell does Coriolanus do to Tigress in Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes and Songbirds, whatever it's called? That's what I'm looking forward to. Knowing what I know happened to Tigress and like how she helps them and she's a stylist, like, and that's what she looks like. Because obviously the person playing Tigress in the new movie, Hunter Schafer, like, doesn't have the tattoos and stuff. I'm really interested now to, like, I really want to finish this other book to be like, what the hell did Snow do? Because Snow is not a good character. Like, he's not a good guy in the book, in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Like, he's very selfish, and he's doing all of this because of where it's going to get him a prize in college, whatever. He doesn't really, I don't even know if he really cares about Lucy Gray, but he seems to care about Tigress. So how do we get from here? How did we get from there to here? The Tigress I see now. That's what I'm interested in. I just have to say too, like, the soundtrack to all three of these movies is amazing. And the like little refrain of like the Mockingjay like sound, not sound, but like there's a through line in all the songs in all the movies. And they're obviously composed by the same person. And then he also composed the new movie, the soundtrack to the new movie. And the music for this is just so fitting. And you can hear, like, in the background, just that slow refrain of that Mockingjay. It's the first song on every single different album. The first one, I think it's called, like, Katniss. One of them's called The Mockingjay. But they all have the same refrain, the same sound. And it's just beautiful. I love a good movie soundtrack. This movie has great scores. The way this is shot, beautifully shot. Look at all these people here for a public execution of their president. What? The kiss between Effie and Haymitch at the end? I didn't know I needed it, but I needed it. That was amazing. Great addition. It's official. I'm finished with the Hunger Games trilogy. I watched all the movies, I read all the books, and I must say that when I first read the original trilogy over 10 years ago, I actually didn't like it that much. But reading it this time as an adult and living in the world I live in, it hit so much harder. Like, what Suzanne Collins did, what she's talking about, I'm impressed. I actually think Hunger Games has, like, moved up to, like, one of my favorite YA series, I think, because right now it was Maze Runner. Maze Runner was, like, number one, and then I didn't really have, I like the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber, but that to me is kind of new. But, like, Maze Runner, I love Maze Runner, and then obviously, like, I love Twilight, but that's, like, I don't know, it just feels like that's just, like, a staple, you know? But I feel like the other ones are, like, a little bit more underrated. Like, I love Maze Runner, and I feel like Hunger Games is not underrated by any means, but it's definitely going up there in, like, one of my top favorite YA series. And then the movies, I think these are actually pretty good adaptations. They got rid of a lot of, like, the fat, because I feel like the first book is a lot of, it's like spending time with Katniss, spending time with Peeta, and like just them surviving in the forest, and like we don't need necessarily all of that in the books or in the movies. And then, like, the third movie is very much like an action film. very much an action film, and I kind of loved it. I was wondering how they were going to translate it, but I feel like it translates really well. It translates really well, and looking at the credits, it was adapted from the book by Suzanne Collins, and I think that's why these are such good adaptations, because she adapted her own book to a screenplay. To me, that's the best possible outcome we could have as readers, is to get the author to adapt their book to the screenplay, and that's the closest I think we're gonna get to like the book. And I think the fact that she's the one that's adapting it makes a world of difference, and which is why I think these movies actually kind of like stand the test of time. They're actually quite good. And my only problem is the ending. The ending is the same. Her and Peeta grow back together. Again, it's not we don't spend as much time with them as we do in the book. So when he asks her at the end, like, you love me, real or not real, and she goes and she gets in bed with him, it is like a little bit awkward, but it makes sense because they are growing back together, but they've been through so much fucking trauma that I think when she gets in bed with him, he's kind of like, oh, okay. And then it's almost like that's the moment when they finally are like, okay, we found a little bit of peace. And Peeta's still trying to figure out what's real and or not real. I think the ending epilogue part, where I actually don't like the epilogue at all in the book or the movie, because I don't feel like we necessarily need to show Peeta and Katniss like the happily ever after, like married, like with kids, or I don't know if they're married, but they have 2 kids at the epilogue. And I mean, this is I'm gonna put with spoilers in the whole, like in the description of the vlog, but like I don't feel like we needed that in the book or the movie, to be honest, because I don't know how many years it is later. I mean, they're still probably very young, but like throughout the whole book, the whole series, Katniss says, I don't want to get married, I don't want to have kids. And my friend and I were talking about this, and we were kind of saying that, like, if there was a point in the book where she kind of says, like, the book or the movie where she says, yeah, I would be open to that stuff if this world that we live in has completely changed. Although it has, there isn't really anything alluding to her changing her mind about the marriage and the kids thing. And I think, she hasn't had the space to even think about wanting marriage and wanting kids because of the way that they live. That's just not like an option for her. And I think, at the end, it finally is maybe an option. It is an option, obviously, because it happens. Her and Peeta just decide to kind of do that settling down thing, I really think that we needed them to get married and have kids. It ties things up nicely. To me, it translates a little weird in the movie, a little bit awkward. But I still actually really enjoyed this 3rd movie, and I really enjoyed the 1st movie. I think the second book and movie to me are both kind of, but by the 3rd movie, you're in it, you're getting the most deaths. Not the most deaths, but you're getting deaths of characters that you really are, you end up really caring about. I mean, we get that in the 1st book with Rue. Action was good. I'm telling you that. Mutt scene was crazy. Her killing Coin was beautifully executed. And also, like, President Snow being killed by basically a mob of his citizens. Crazy. But I'm kind of obsessed with Hunger Games. I really value reading experiences. And, I mean, you've seen this tattoo before, but I had a great reading experience with Harry Potter. This was before all the shit. And so now I have a tattoo, unfortunately. But I like to commemorate reading experiences in some way, and I read Stephen King's It, and I really want to get the loser lover tattoo, like, here on my finger. And I'm kind of like, do I get a Hunger Games tattoo? Is that lame? I don't know. I would just get, like, it would just be small. It'd be like a small, like, bow and arrow or like a Mockingjay. I don't really love the way the Mockingjay pin looks, but if I could get a really good tattoo artist to just do like a line drawing of it, that could be kind of cute. But is that lame to get now? I don't know. I love little tattoos to commemorate reading experiences. I don't know. We'll see. But now that I'm done with the movies, done with the book, I need to read the prequel.